All right, we say Petach Elio before Mincha, but we don't say Hodu. This is in the intermediate days of Passover. In 1848, the Tzemach Tzedek said a mimer on the sentence in Kesef Talve et Ami. If you lend kesef, if you lend money to another Jew, the word "if" in this case means that you should. You should lend money. It says if you when you lend money, so don't take interest. That's the end of the sentence. The word kesef, the word in Hebrew for money, is referring to the soul. How has money got to do with the soul? Because the word kesef also means desire, nichsaf, because the soul has a desire and a longing, a kosef, to rise to the heights. The soul has a desire to be clinging to the truth, and it doesn't want to be schlepped into the world to all of these negative, selfish things. The soul wants to be separate. That's kesef. That's the essence of a Jewish soul. This is expressed in the passage. This is the spirit of man which rises up to the supernal heights. It says, Ruach ha'adam hua ola, the spirit of man. This goes up. This is it's a sentence in Proverbs. Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes is Kohelet. Ecclesiastes. So the spirit of man goes up. This is talking about the Jewish soul of the what's called the godly soul of a Jew. And the godly soul of the Jew, it basically doesn't want any part of this world. It doesn't want anything for itself. It just wants to be clinging to God. That's all it wants. That's man. That refers to the Jewish people. Like it says, Atem Nikrim Adam. The Jewish people, they are the example of what man is supposed to be. They're supposed to teach the whole world. The soul, okay, now what does it mean if you loan kesef in kesef talve, if you loan money to someone, if you loan money? We said the money is referring to the soul. So money is being loaned to man. What do you mean loaned to man? Everybody lives for a certain amount of time, right? You don't live forever. You probably have surmised up to now that people die, and eventually we're going to die. So the soul is on loan to man. What happens when a person dies? So it says, well, he just gives the soul back to the one who loaned it to us. It's just on loan, and the soul goes back to the creator. So the soul doesn't die, but dying in this case means that you return the loan. There's not, and like it's written, days are formed. Days are formed. It says that God makes days. So it's a sentence in Psalms that a fixed number. Everybody gets a fixed number of days in your life. If one day is missing, then one of your garments is missing. So it says the soul is put into the world for a certain number of days. Those days are garments for the soul. And every day you're supposed to do something good. And that's what we got time. So we're supposed to do something. Now, an interesting thing is that when you do a commandment in the world, that commandment in some ways is higher than the soul itself, because it's doing the essential will of God. It's a thing that, so to speak, the soul doesn't have. In a way, we can say that it's a thing that God doesn't have. It says when we do a commandment that it gives God pleasure. Now we're talking about God over here, so we can't take this, too anthropomorphically, like they say. How do you say normally? But the fact is, it says in the Torah that God gets pleasure. God gets pleasure. Now God is infinite, and the pleasure is infinite. So it means that every day you do something good in this world, you're doing something infinite. To you, it seems like you did put on tefillin, it took you 10 minutes or whatever. But the fact is that thing is infinite, which we don't understand what infinite means. We have no comprehension of it. But that's what's happening every time you do a good deed. So it says we're put into the world in order to make the world and ourselves infinite. That's a garment. Those garments become pure. It says if you're in the world and you don't make the world into a garment, then that day is, so to speak, missing. And that's the whole idea of reincarnation. That's today. Let's do tomorrow. So tomorrow, because tomorrow's going to be Shabbat. Here we go. 1 minute. The following prayers are said in an undertone this Shabbat because it's Chol Hamoed. It's the intermediaries. We on the Kiddush we say Shalom Aleichem, we say Eshet Chayil, but you say it quietly. Mizmor LeDavid, Dai Sudato, etc. Okay. My father once commented, expanded on Mani Shtana, the 4 questions. This is good. Listen to this. Mani Shtana Alayla Hazer Mikol Alaylot. How is this night different from all other nights? Huh? That's what the questions the child asks. How is this night different from all other nights? Why is it that tonight we're only eating matzah, we're only eating we eat bitter herbs, you have to eat bitter herbs, and the other nights we don't have to eat bitter herbs. Why do we lean over? Why do we dip? Why? The child is asking. So he's saying, how is this night? The Rebbe translated that everything that's speaking over here is also a metaphor. In addition to the fact that we're saying, how is this night, the night of Passover, the Seder night where we're eating matzah and bitter herbs, how is it different from all the regular nights? But this is also a metaphor. Night is a metaphor for exile. How is this night, the night that we're in now, since the second temple was destroyed, right? The Jewish people were in exile. We began in exile. We're in Egypt. And then after that, the first temple was destroyed. And we were in exile in Babylon. And now, that was only 70 years. In Egypt, we were 210 years, whatever. Now it was 70 years. Now, we're almost 2,000 years in exile. How is this last exile different from all the other exiles? And all the nights, and all the other previous exiles, we don't dip. Dip means going and purifying yourself. Dipping, matbilim, is tovel. That's going to the mikveh. You purify yourself. On all the other exiles, we were not really purified, not even once. The cleansing wasn't completed. Because we see that after the exile of Egypt and after the exile of Babylon, there was another exile. But tonight, we dip twice. This final exile will bring about the refinement of the body and the revelation of the soul. This 2,000-year exile, which is called the exile of Rome, by the way. On all other exiled nights, we eat chometz or matzah. On all the nights, we eat chometz or matzah. Maybe I can comment. I don't know. Maybe I should just keep quiet. So maybe I will. Maybe I won't. We'll see. It seems that this whole business that all of a sudden in the campuses, they're all really interested in, Islam. They don't even know what it means. But one of the big things of Islam, really technically the big enemy of Islam is Christianity. That's the big enemy, right? Even though they're mentioned over there in the Quran, but really that's because the only good redeeming factor there is in Islam is that they worship God. They don't worship anything, two gods or ghosts or anything like that. They worship God. And then they have a couple laws that they borrowed from the Torah. But the main thing is they believe in one God, right? What the one God says is that they just twisted that around and everything. But they do, that's a good thing. They believe in one God. And because of that, so they hate anybody who doesn't believe in one God. Well, of course, they hate anybody who doesn't believe in Muhammad also, but one God. And we're now in the exile of Rome. And the exile of Rome means somehow or other the church has to fall. Because the fact is, it's a big lie. The whole religion is a big guilt trip and a fear trip. And you're all going to burn if you don't believe in this guy, cursed and everything. So maybe it could be, I'm just, theorizing that this whole insanity which going around, that people say the Hamas is good, it could be that eventually when the Islam assumes power, which it's assuming power everywhere, the assuming power, that's going to be the end of the power of Rome. And consequently, that's going to be the end of our exile. Because Christianity is based on the destruction of Judaism. That's the whole essence of it, is that it's replacing Judaism. That's all the whole idea. And all these missionaries and stuff that our stupid Zionist government allows them to come in, it's just suicide. The whole world is just suicide nowadays. It's just suicide, right? All these leftists and things that they support, the Hamas, these guys will kill them. They'll kill them. The whole thing is just suicide. It's just, they're They're longing for suicide. Everybody wants to kill themselves, kill everybody else. So hopefully that's what it is. This exile will bring about the final the purification of the soul and the body. Okay. On all the other nights, we eat chametz or matzah. Following each of the earlier exiles, our service involved only the godly soul, which that's matzah. Matzah, we talked about before, means surrender to God. And the exile was serving of the godly soul and also the animal soul. But this night, following the final exile, we'll only eat matzah. After, we'll only all there's going to be is purity. All there's going to be is the godly soul, because the spirit of impurity, of death, will be abolished. It'll be like Adam was before he ate from the tree. Pure health. The world will be healthy, godly, love. On all the other nights, we eat different vegetables. Greens, yurakot. Vegetables are called yurakot. Yurakot means greens. The face of a jealous person turns green. That color symbolizes envy. Green with envy. Ever heard that? During the earlier exiles, there were various forms of envy. There was competition among Talmud scholars. It was good type of envy. But now, on this night, after the final exile, there's only going to be the most intense type of envy. Like it says that every tzaddik will be envious of the canopy of his fellow. It says that everyone will receive such incredible good, and everyone's good will be different from everybody else's good, that everyone will look at the other person and say, wow, what type of amazing good this person got. Right? I'll be envious of him. He'll be envious of me, of the intense, unique good that everybody is receiving. That's because of this exile we're in. And finally, on all the other nights, we either eat sitting or reclining. Eating is getting pleasure in the revelations that come from being in exile, all the rewards from all of our suffering. There is what's called pleasure, obvious pleasure, and then there's even an essential pleasure. Some people through their service will get this normal pleasure, but others will get essential pleasure. That's in all the other exiles. But tonight, in our exile now, all of the Jewish people receive only the essential pleasure of serving God. I mean, we've suffered so terribly. The pleasure that will be revealed from the suffering, somehow or other, will make all the suffering worthwhile. It'll be the essence, pleasure in the essence of the Creator. How this is going to be, I don't know. So let's just make recount this a little bit, right? On all the other nights, we don't dip. We don't dip means being purified. But this exile, this 2,000 years exile, we're going to dip twice. We'll purify the body and the soul. On all the other nights, we eat chametz or matzah, namely the animal soul or the godly soul. But in this night is going to be, there won't be any more chametz. There won't be any more chametz. We'll only eat matzah, only pure godliness. On all the other nights, we eat different greens. And there's all sorts of different types of jealousy that people will have. Jealousy for money, jealousy, but in the future, people will only be jealous of the spirituality of each other. And on all the other nights, we eat either sitting or reclining. Eating means getting pleasure. And the essential pleasure, reclining, means total essential pleasure. This tonight, everyone is going to receive the essential pleasure of the essence of God. That is going to be, okay, now a story. Oh yeah, I forgot the story. Okay, here we go. 1 minute. Story.